The first video game I ever played was Sonic the Hedgehog. This sparked something inside of me and started my love for video games. I would soon after experience the likes of Mario, Donkey Kong, Metroid, and eventually Banjo-Kazooie. But there's always been a place in my heart for Sonic the Hedgehog. I had comic books, watched every sort of animated show related to him, and got hyped at the smallest of Sonic news. My fandom for Sonic really peaked in the early 2000s with my introduction to Sonic Adventure and its sequel, Sonic Adventure 2. Now, I had a Nintendo GameCube, so I experienced Sonic Adventure 2 Battle first, and boy did I love it. Rolling around at the speed of sound, defeating enemies at high speeds, the colorful, vibrant levels, and of course, raising Chow. If I wasn't playing a Sonic game at this point, watching a show, or reading comics, you could probably find me drawing pictures of Super Sonic and Shadow in space, hovering above the Earth. This specific generation of consoles also saw the release of so many Sonic titles. We had the Adventure series, Heroes, the edgy Shadow the Hedgehog, Sonic Riders, and the Mega and Gems collections to fuel the Sonic wildfire I had in my heart. And when the prospect of a new generation was coming for Sonic, I saw probably the dopest thing I've ever seen in my life. A trailer for a new Sonic game in the style of the Adventure series that I loved. This began the first arc of my tale. Let's call this the hype arc. And it was so real. Every day I would search the internet using my favorite search engine at the time, Dogpile, for more information on Sonic the Hedgehog, later referred to as Sonic 06. In fact, at the time, that's how significant you knew this game was going to be. All the games leading up to it were Sonic Heroes, Sonic Adventure, Sonic Riders, Sonic Rush, Sonic insert other word here, but no, not this one. This game was promised to be so significant, it would be a new start for the series and was just dubbed Sonic the Hedgehog. It felt like every day I would find some little clip or detail I missed before. I mean, just watch this trailer. How could someone not be hyped? How could I not be thinking about this 24/7 as I had to sit through the pain of going to school and doing frickin' math? What good is math in life? I eagerly awaited the release of this game. I wish I could tell you my dreams were fulfilled and I got the game at release. You're probably thinking this is the point where I would say the game was bad and people hated it, so I didn't get it. But no, that's not what I'm about to say. My heart was broken before that. As the next generation of consoles was inbound, I had to carefully make my decision. Only I was not careful. I knew exactly what I was going to get and why. I had an N64, a Nintendo GameCube, all the Game Boys, a DS. The choice was obvious. I had to get a Nintendo Wii. At the time, I would even go on YouTube and like videos that would have the song We Are the Champions by Queen, and they'd push 144p images of the Wii up saying, "No time for Xbox." And at the time, I was sold. The Wii looked like it was going to be the greatest console I would ever own. So I saved up my money, and the time came for the Wii's release. My family drove to Walmart the night before, only to be told the stock was going to be severely limited and lots of people weren't going to get one. I was devastated at the news. You have to understand, I was watching all these videos, commercials, reading gaming magazines, hyping it up. I felt like as a Nintendo fan, I was owed this console. And how would I play the new Sonic game if I didn't have it? So as I was filled with disappointment in the back seat, that's when my father said, "Alright, I'll get a ticket and spend the night out there to get it." This definitely was not something my dad would normally do, but as some of you have probably heard the tale of me acquiring lots of N64 games with my dad, he knew just how much I wanted this and how hard I worked to save the money, so he spent the night and I got that Nintendo Wii. It's one of the best stories I'll always remember of my dad. So right now you're probably asking, how does this relate to Sonic 06? It didn't even release on Wii. And that's exactly right. It wasn't coming to Nintendo's new console. When I realized this, I was so upset. Nintendo and Sega were friends now. How could they not release the new Sonic on Wii? This was the console I chose. I was young, but I was old enough to understand that there's no way I could get a PS3 for $600. I just didn't have that. $250 was already pushing the envelope for the money I could save. It was only then that I learned Sega had other plans, so my hype shifted away from Sonic 06 and moved into Sonic Wildfire and what that game was going to be, ultimately changing into Sonic and the Secret Rings. I ended up having a really fun time with that game in all honesty. Though it used motion controls, you could get power-ups to make Sonic stupid fast, and it still had a great soundtrack and graphics. It's sort of like a boost game, but it was before the boost formula really got established. It felt different in a good way. It was fun. Maybe someday I'll talk a little bit more about the Storybook series, but at the time, even as I played that game, the hype of the Sonic game I couldn't play still lingered in my brain. What did it play like? Could I transform into Super Sonic whenever I wanted? Who's Silver? So many questions I wanted answers to. My best friend managed to get an Xbox 360 and invited me over. This was my first experience with the console with HD graphics, and holy crap, was it life-changing. I remember us playing a new game he got, BioShock, and being in awe of the graphics. So much so that when we could swim in the water, we actually thought we were just watching a cutscene and we were wondering why we weren't moving. It blew our minds when we tilted the stick and could move, and suddenly I had a thought, maybe there's a demo for Sonic on the Xbox. And sure enough there was. I managed to try it and it was exactly what I wanted. Sonic Adventure style gameplay with a fun world and incredible next-gen graphics. I was so hyped once again and needed to get my hands on one of the consoles that had this game. Now I wasn't particularly picky or anything about which one I would choose. In hindsight, I probably should have gone the Xbox route since Rare is one of my favorite companies and it went over there. But I think I didn't pay attention to that and based my decision off a friend who hyped up PlayStation 3, and it just seemed great. Plus, I had acquired a PSP with my first summer job, and that became my favorite handheld of all time. So if the PS3 was like my PSP, but had similar graphics and games to the Xbox, I'm game. Fast forward to Christmas of 2008. I was a bit older now, and Sony had released a slim model of the PS3 at a much cheaper cost. My uncle, for Christmas, took me to GameStop and bought me a PS3, and with that console, I got Batman Arkham Asylum, a game that would go on to be one of my favorite series of all time, and I would crush in the leaderboards on PlayStation, true story, and of course, the fabled and mythical Sonic the Hedgehog. I finally had it. I went home, plugged my PS3 into my 19-inch Sanyo LCD flat screen with component cables, and embraced the high-resolution graphics. Popping in that disc that looked like Sonic's face was the peak of hype. I had a feeling of butterflies in my stomach, like this is it. This is the game I've been waiting years to play. I watched the game boot up, hit that first cutscene and thought, wow, this is what I was missing. It's so beautiful. Insert a load screen. No big deal. Okay, that was a long load screen, but let's get into the game. Run around the hub world a bit, load screen. Here, let me talk to this guy, load screen. Let me enter this level, load screen. Let me try to run on this dash pad. I can't make it over there? Why is my homing attack not chaining from one enemy to the other? Why am I at a standstill in the air? This wasn't like the demo at all. Seriously, the demo was fun and played how you'd expect. This entered the official second arc for me. The arc of disappointment. I wasn't a stranger to Sonic games not getting praise at this point. In all honesty, I sort of ignored reviews for them since everyone just said the same thing, and honestly, the camera was never an issue for me in the adventure games. I loved them, and if it was even remotely like that, I'd love this. And after playing the demo, I fully expected to be like that. But it wasn't. I wanted to love this game. I really wanted to love this game. and there were still elements of the game that I liked. The music lived up to the hype, Silver was kinda cool with his powers, and the story, with the exception of the weird kiss thing at the end, was pretty cool about time travel. Blaze the cat was really fun, and I have to shout her out. She was like Sonic, but had a homing attack that actually worked. Also, the cute girl from Mean Girls voiced Princess Elise, a fun little detail if you didn't know. With every level, you can see the cool aesthetic and design that went into it, but unfortunately, the gameplay took a turn down unfinished lane. This went through some development hell, and Sega wanted a holiday 2006 release. The team must have broken down some of the elements of gameplay and wanted to rebuild them, but due to a time crunch they couldn't finish and just settled with barely functional. As mentioned, which I never see mentioned, the demo played fairly well, so it really surprised me when the game felt as bad as it did. This was like a beta release for the official release. I painstakingly played through this entire game because this was me fulfilling the hype from years prior, and that little kid in me that screamed, "Yay, Sonic!" It didn't live up, in fact, not even close, and since then I've had a chip on my shoulder for the Sonic series as a whole. It's not that we haven't gotten good games, but the hype sort of died out for me. The feeling of being excited for a Sonic game has just never really come back. It used to be one of my favorites, a series I lived and breathed for. Worst of all, the game basically caused them to ditch the adventure formula entirely, and we've been boosted ever since. Sonic was made to be a high-speed platformer, not a race car. I liked having the super speed elements in 06, but not the whole game. I want us to give the adventure formula another shot. Sonic Frontiers is a sort of step in the right direction, but it still heavily relies on that boost formula. It's like since Unleashed, they couldn't think of anything else. And while I acknowledge they tried to make Sonic Lost World different, they just slowed Sonic way down and it was boring. Sonic is meant to be fast, but he's also meant to be an action platformer. If the Sonic series could get its act together and produce a game refining the adventure style and committing to the time needed to polish it, I bet it would be great and make me love the series all over again. But Sega seems to be more interested in spin-offs or going back to the 2D formula. As far as I can tell, the series was never going to live up to that hype I had when I was younger, dreaming about Sonic 06. But that was then. This is now. Today, I put the past behind me. I've been thinking, what if I gave the game another chance? I should see what this game plays like for me today. Part of my whole YouTube channel is considering maybe we misunderstood some of these old games. Maybe there's fun to be had. A silver lining, if you will. So let me look back at this game one more time in its original state. This time, since I don't have my PS3 anymore, I went the emulation route, and surprisingly, I was having fun. Granted, the issues are still present, sloppy homing attack handling, shadows super slow, glitches everywhere, but funny enough, due to my SSD, the load screens, though there are many, are super fast. The time watching a loading screen was bearable, though it does suck when it breaks up the level in the middle of the level and you get a task from townsfolk and it loads onto them for 2 seconds to say something dumb like, "Find who the captain is," and then load screen again to get to the action. But all that being said, I was having a really fun time, which that should say a lot. Even if the gameplay received no improvements, if they optimized the loading times, it would have significantly helped this game. And if that was the end of the Sonic 06 experience, it would end on a bittersweet note. An arc that started with hype, moved into disappointment, and maybe ended with a slightly more appreciative tone. But the story doesn't end there, because Sonic 06, the game known to be terrible and revered as one of the worst Sonic games, has come back. Not by Sega, but by fans. Enter the next arc. The final arc. The Arc of Redemption. Sonic P06, or as it's known as Project 06, is a fan remake of the original game by Ian Chaos X Morris for PC, and it uses the Unity engine. And my gosh, if this is what we got when the game released, this would be regarded as one of the greatest Sonic games of that generation. It fixes everything. It adds gameplay elements that just make sense. It's all 06 should have been gameplay-wise. As you boot up the game, you'll notice it's not actually the story mode, but you get into the trial mode and select episodes. You can progress through each episode level by level, and we have added character interactions at the beginning to help fill in the story. These are actually really charming, and it's cool to see more interaction between them. You'll notice immediately the game is beautiful. More beautiful than you remember. All the animations are super fluid, and models have been brought up into the modern age. I mean, this game is 20 years old after all. But aside from the graphical uplift, the biggest change is fixing so many of the gameplay issues present. As of right now, the game doesn't have the last story, but it will be coming in the future. Let's start with Sonic and look at the changes. First and foremost, the homing attack is fixed and functions more like the traditional adventure homing attack. The bounce doesn't cause you to stay in one place vertical, and you can actually move around a lot more. In fact, in general, you can move around a lot more. You can finally hit that dash pad in the first level. The slide attack's been removed, and it's all spin dash now, baby. And switching the input for the light dash from the slide and spin dash button to the top face button was very smart. It just generally feels so much better. If we're being real, Sonic felt the best in the original, so what about the others? Well, good news. Shadow's faster now. Thank goodness. We don't have to rely on vehicles to get speed, though a few of those vehicles are still present, it just offers more variety in gameplay. He also uses chaos control and teleports zipping around way more, and it's so sick. And all the improvements to movement apply to him as well. I didn't mention it, but the change of having your jump also do damage helps a ton. As an avid adventure player, that's how it worked, so having it back aids in combat and muscle memory. They also made his air shoes have a trail of flames as you go, and it became the sickest looking I've ever seen Shadow when he's moving fast. I started preferring Shadow over Sonic when I was playing. As I made that choice as a kid, it felt validating. And then finally Silver. Generally he's much faster, though still slower than the other two. His psychokinesis, or whatever it's called, is also much more reliable and just works how you'd think. Not much to say other than that, he just works now. The side characters also play better. Tails isn't dramatically different, but he's faster and it's easier to hit with the ring bombs. Knuckles and Rouge play exactly how they did in Adventure 2, which, thank goodness, they were so slow. Blaze may have gotten a few tweaks, but she was the best in the original game. She's just more solid now. And Amy, well, she certainly wasn't my favorite, but she plays a lot better, a lot smoother. And if you hold the attack button, she'll hit the ground and bounce up like she does in Adventure. So many great, fantastic choices were made with this fan remake. I even had fun running around holding Elise as Sonic. Like, those were some of the worst levels. You can feel the love that went into this remake. And although Sonic 06 broke me back then, seeing the state it's in today has me thinking differently. Evidently, you can even unlock Super Sonic if you get all S ranks in Sonic stages and change at any time. That was a promise made back in the original trailer for the game. It's now fulfilled. The promise of the game in its entirety is basically fulfilled. Finally! It only took 20 years. This is what could have been one of the best Sonic games, but due to rushing, it became one of the worst. Sega should make this remake official. I'd totally buy it. What's crazy is I feel like the plot to this game sort of plays out in its real-life story. The game's coming with lots of promise and good intentions based on past similar-looking games that were fun. It releases and is a major dumpster fire that sets the world ablaze in a bad way. My expectations and hype for this game died along with Sonic, but someone from the future revisits the past to try and make it right. And Sonic 06 is revived and better than before, and it will now live on in a positive light. All we need now is a Chow Garden. So if you haven't checked this game out, go check out Project 06 and revisit this game. Give Sonic the Hedgehog another chance. I did, and I don't regret it. Well, that's all I have for you. Be sure to spin dash a like on this video to help spread my content, and homing attack subscribe so you don't miss a future upload. Until next time, have a good one.
Jiggylookback!